Hello everybody and welcome back. This is episode number 10 of the Vanarama YouTube channel's Football Manager 2018 experiment with Celtic and Rangers in the English League. And as you can see, one team has turned the corner and done better. One team has failed to turn that corner and is doing a lot worse. Well, we've started from the bottom. Rangers were in 21st when we last left it, and we were hopeful that they could maybe push on from that with a new manager. I don't think I feared for them with that new manager, and I feared for both with the signings that they made this season. But Rangers, they took on that new manager, Justin Walker, and he joined on the 20th of November, which is there's an awful lot of red down there. Now, we haven't looked at the cups now. They look like they've started really well up until this point. They went out of the Carabao Cup at the third round away to Leicester 2-1 after extra time, and they failed to win a game all the way up until the 18th of December. They lost the majority of those games as well, and now they're sitting in a relegation spot. So they're only winning 3 games since that man took over, and they've drawn 1. Other than that, they've lost them all. I can't see him holding down his job for much longer. At least being out of all the cups, losing 2 at home to Arsenal isn't a bad thing. So going out of the cups the way they have done, you can't blame them for that. But losing like they have done in the league has just been terrible. Absolutely terrible. Now, have they spent any money to try and get themselves out of this position? The answer to that question is yes, a little bit though. Possibly not enough. Tyrone Mings on loan could be a good move for them at left back. Tyus Browning. So they're reinforcing their defence, which is, well, not a bad thing. But at the same time, they could have done with reinforcing other areas too. Have they sold any players? Well, they've sold Bakenga. I don't know if he was doing particularly well for them. Well, he'd only played in 1 game this season and in 5 games last season, so he wasn't really doing anything for them. So a cool 3.1 million. So they've made money in the transfer market, but it's costing them because they're deep down in their relegation spot, and I fear for them. Celtic, on the other hand, though, you go up to the other end of the table. Celtic have gone from around about this area. They've pushed themselves into a playoff spot, 5 points shy of a promotion spot. But I did see something in the news. There's like a bit of a news thing before I come on to the actual division page, and it looks as though their manager has gone. And look in there, yeah, you can already see it if you haven't already. John Kennedy is their manager now, former defender of theirs. Not looking at the transfer history, the manager. So Brendan Rodgers left on the 12th of the 1st. John Kennedy, well, is he now their permanent manager? Let's have a little look. Interim manager. So they haven't actually appointed a full-time manager yet. But John Kennedy looks as though he's done well. So from this point, I think he put himself in the frame to take the job on. I mean, they've gone out of the cup to Bradford, which isn't a good thing. They must have gone out early in the Carabao Cup. They lost 2-1 away to Newcastle, so that's not the end of the world. But they're in some really good form at the moment. Have they brought any players in? Have they spent a little bit of money to push themselves into the Premier League? No. All they brought in is Aaron Curtis of Charlton, who is going to be a youngster, not going to be playing any first team roles at all. They haven't really sold anyone either, just Luke Southwood to Millwall, and that's it. So very little in the transfer market. Celtic are still majorly up on their money. Still majorly up, doing well in the league, out of all the cups, so they can concentrate on getting themselves promoted. So Can Rangers pull themselves out of this? It's looking rather bleak for them at the moment. It's not good. It's not good to see this. We don't want any of our teams to fall backwards at all. We don't want to see anyone get relegated. So hopefully Rangers can pull themselves out of this, and hopefully they'll have the resource to push themselves on next season. Celtic, though, well in with a chance now. They're starting to convert the draws into wins. If you look, we were worried about their win rate at home. So you see they've started winning more games at home, but they're still drawing them too, mind. So they've only lost 4 games, only 1 home loss. So they're hard to beat at their ground. It's just people are taking points away from them where they shouldn't be. But I suppose their away form is good. That's something to smile about. But anyway, I say less talk, more get this season over with and have a look and see where they finish. I'm so eager to see if Celtic go up. I'm so eager to see if Rangers can save themselves. Let's see. I'll take you guys there now. Okay then, here we are. We're on the 31st of May now. Tammy Abraham finished top scorer in the division. Is that a good sign for Celtic? I mean, this isn't a good sign that the playoff winners were Fulham. So Celtic would have had to finish first or second. And first was a bit of a tall order. There was a bit of a gap there. But they would have had to finish second. And they weren't too far away from that. What about Rangers as well? Celtic finished second and Rangers went down. So, Celtic are a Premier League team as of next season. Rangers are back down into League One. I do hope they've done the right thing here, and yes, Justin Walker got sacked. That was a poor appointment, and that is what's cost them. Graham Murty may have been able to turn things around a little bit. I don't think it was so much that he was doing so bad, but they sacked him. They brought in a complete unknown who did a crap job. And then Francis Jeffers was brought in with no time to rescue it. And he's just a coach, Francis Jeffers. He's not even a manager. I don't know who's bringing these players in. It's just, I just don't get it. Career stats were, well, the last team he physically played for was Accrington Stanley, but let's have a look and see if his managerial history. He was only a coach for Tottenham in the 18s. They're making the same mistake. I don't see them getting promoted next season back into the Championship. I really don't. They're going to need to spend some money, guys. It's as simple as that. So they're out of the Championship, and their rivals Celtic have flown up into the Premier League. They did it, well, not overly convincingly, but well, they done it nonetheless. Is that Reganpool? It certainly is Reganpool. Our old county centre defender is now playing for Swansea, worth $8.5 million. Bloody hell. If that's the case, then County could be making a lot of money on him in the future. But anyway, this is about Celtic and Rangers. Rangers are down. That run there, I think, is what done them. Because looking at it, they started picking things up here. But losing 4 games, well, losing 5 games in their last sort of 5 of their last 8 they lost. And what was the difference in points? 4. So it's one of those times where they could have saved themselves just. Barnsley would have gone down instead of them, but that's poor. That's so bad. They got a good team there as well. It's just the managerial appointments is just piss poor. Well, there we go. Let's have a look at the state of Scottish football now. The Ladbrokes Championship, and Barrow won the Ladbrokes Championship. Gateshead finished 4th, so a good season for both of them. Both in the same division again since Gateshead went back up and Barrow didn't, and then Barrow went up and Gateshead came down. Barrow came back down, and now they're back up. Gateshead might fancy their chances for next season then. But let's have a quick look at the SPL. Let's just see if Hibs have won the league again. And they have. Hibs have won the league again. It's Hibs who are making the absolute most of the absence of Celtic and Rangers at the moment. They've won 4 8 of the 5 titles available to the rest of Scotland. And they've got Hibs and Aberdeen are the main ones. Hearts are always finishing in that top sort of 6. Motherwell should be doing the same. Dundee United should be doing better. But Dundee have had a good season there. St Johnstone have done quite well as well. But I'm going to have a quick look at Hibs, because obviously Hibs are going to be the ones who've been in the Champions League, and it looks as though they've been doing okay looking at that. But they got into the Euro Cup groups and went out of the groups because they lost all their group games. But when you got Tottenham, well, Celta, I'm not sure if that's Celta Vigo. Yeah, Celta Vigo. When you got Celta Vigo and Tottenham, it's going to be difficult for them. But they only lost 1-0 Tottenham there. So they didn't lose all their group games. They lost 4-0 Tottenham there. They drew at home to FC Midtjylland, but they lost their games against Vigo as well. But they could get better. They could get better. If they're making a little bit of money out of their European escapades, then maybe they may bring in some players. We don't know. So they went out of the Champions League playoff on away goals. That's gutting. So they got all the way through the Champions Cup playoff round, but they did okay in the Euro Cup. No, they didn't. Oh God. So this would have been just the Euro Cup, because it would have been when Aberdeen won the league. The season before is when they'd have been in the Champions League, and they got to the Euro Cup groups. So they keep getting to the Euro Cup groups, they just don't quite get in the Champions League. But neither does Celtic that often, although they have done the last couple of times. Celtic don't often qualify for it. But let's have a quick look at Aberdeen and how they did when they were in the Champions League. So there it is. And they only made the Euro Cup groups, but it seems as though they did a little bit better. They had Karabag, Fenerbahce and Olympiacos, and they won, drew, won. So they got to the first knockout round, so they've done the best out of anyone in Scotland and Europe. But they went out to Watford, which you can understand, Premier League team and everything. So we've got this Scottish football for you. Happy days. Barrow will be back in the Ladbrokes Premiership next season, so we'll keep an eye on them, and we'll also have a look at Gateshead too. But that'll be that for that episode, guys. Thanks all for watching. Hope you're enjoying the series. Celtic will be in the Premier League next year. Rangers, unfortunately, need to claw their way back into the Championship. Will they do it? First time of asking. Will Celtic stay up? We shall see. Thanks all again, and until next time, it's cheerio for now.